I was looking around online for somebody doing this. No one was doing it. But now on TikTok, there's lots of baby name consultants.
There you go. You started
It's become a big thing. It's been nice to be a part of so many birth announcements, people coming back for their second or third baby. And it's just a really lovely part of someone's life to sort of be involved in and to make it fun, because I know that it can be a little bit, pregnancy is hard. The fun part should be picking their name.
Yeah, exactly. That is the fun part. I was watching you on This Morning, and you were with Alison and Dermot. Someone rang in, and I think they were talking about the name Aurelia, which is a beautiful name. He was like, oh, I think I'll name her Alison, actually, because we were saying, like, there's no more Alisons or Alice. Alice is such a pretty name. What is it, do you think, that makes names ebb and flow so much? And, like, I know obviously Gary was in the news a lot.
Yeah, going extinct. Yeah. But what happens is, I think that names, everyone used to say they have a 100-year cycle. I went to school with lots of Garys, Stuarts, Alisons, Rebecca's, Rachel's, and they're all lovely names, but you just have a lot of associations with them. It used to be, obviously, we just passed our names down. So your son would have his dad's name, your daughter would have the mum's name. And we liked that. That was important for society at the time, because it grouped us as a tribe. We were expected to follow in our parents' footsteps. We lived very nearby. And as families have exploded and the society's changed, and I think even more recently, this big explosion into unique names is very much due to the fact that as parents now, we don't think that we own our children as much as maybe we don't expect them to follow in our footsteps. We see them as individuals. We raise them to be free-spirited and independent, and to celebrate each other's differences. When Peaky Blinders was huge on TV, Ada and Tommy became the fastest rising names of the year. And everyone's at home going, I've got a great idea. No one's thought of Ada. Back in the Victorian times, even, it was the explosion of kind of what they call romantic names, which was the sort of more literary names. But before that, it was just biblical, or the royals, really. In the past, you were just sort of plucking it out from nowhere and kind of going, I like the sound of it. I don't know why I like it. Whereas now I like to help people go, well, if you've got a real passion for travel, then look at a name that means, to explore or to wander, or a particular place that's important to you. So with couples, when I'm consulting, it's much more about them and their lifestyle and their hopes and dreams for the baby, and then fitting the name into that. Mila was one of the top rising names, and it means miracles. Nice. Ottilie was one of the most popular names, and that means riches. Thea means divine gift. So all these names are sort of bringing in this idea of creating your own life, and that comes through. So things like Ezra meaning helper, Felix meaning lucky, and one of the biggest names that's gone into the top 100 for the first time is Bodhi. So this idea of sort of manifesting in a way of bringing joy and bringing dreams to life comes through. So Pinterest just brought out their predictions for 2025 of the biggest aesthetics, and a huge one is called Castle Core.
Oh, okay.
So it's this very medieval look and feel. So you're seeing it in fashion, they're seeing it in interiors, and on Pinterest they look at what everyone's searching and then look at the aesthetic. And I love then taking that and putting it against names. Names like Delilah, which means delicate, Maeve, meaning she who rules.
Oh, I love Maeve.
And, Orla, golden princess. You see all the names start to trend behind it. Things like, I know you've got Milo, but we've got Miles, means soldier.
Yeah,
that's really getting popular. Chester went into the top 100, meaning fortress. Louis, meaning famed warrior. So those are sort of my top 3 trends that I think I can see immediately in the name chart. So the Castle Core, Nature's Renaissance, and Manifest. So
I love that.
They're really fascinating to look at.
So if you are expecting in 2025 and you need some names, there's some great ones. So we've had some questions in, and she says flower names are so popular, and she's right, my daughter's a flower name and I love a flower name. She says my daughter has a flower name already, and there are about 6 different flower names in her class, which she loves. I'm due to give birth to another daughter in a few weeks' time, and although there are a lot of flower names out there, I'd like to go for another but more unusual. Have you got any recommendations?
So actually my first YouTube video I ever made was unique flower names. Some that I absolutely love that haven't come back. So I love the name Hyacinth. It is such a vintage gem. It's totally unranked at the moment. But with, if you've watched Bridgerton, one of the younger daughters is called Hyacinth. And I think that it just made me think, oh my gosh, that name has become so underused and it's so gorgeous as a floral name. I also love Marigold. Isn't it such a lovely
Yeah, really
name?
nice.
And it's totally unused. And then a lot of people like to pick a more fashion forward maybe nicknames. So with Marigold, a lot of people go with Goldie,
Yeah, that's cool.
which I think is so beautiful, and it gives her that little, it feels quite 70s to me.
Yeah.
Or you can look at kind of more blooms. So I really like the name Posy. So you know when you get married you have the little posy in your lapel or something like that, but I think it's really lovely alternative to Rosie or Rose, which are really beautiful but very well used. Or my daughter's middle name, which is Blossom, and I love her name. And so it's a different take on floral, looking at a more of a variety of flowers. And there are so much more rarer gems. Just depends on how safe or daring you want to be. There will be a name out there
That's
for
really
you.
cool. I love Marigold actually, and Goldie. Oh, I love a good nickname. That's really cute.
Me too. Yeah,
really
me
sweet.
too.
We've had another message in from Alaya, and she says, "We just found out we're having boy and girl twins. Aside from the shock, we are so happy. We have the name Pearl in mind for a girl. That was on my list.
Oh, yeah.
But they can't decide on a boy's name that sounds right with it. So have you got any ideas for them?"
So I've looked at a few different ways. I looked at other one-syllable names because I think that those compare really well and make Pearl sound really strong. So I love Jude. So Pearl and Jude sounds really, really good. I also love Seth, which I think is quite an underused vintage name, but Pearl and Seth, they sound really trendy together. Or Finn. I said I do have a Finn, but I think Pearl and Finn, they sound really playful together, and it makes Pearl seem really playful. But also I looked then at water themes names because I know you wouldn't want Pearl and Ocean, but obviously a pearl is a natural mollusk from the water. So looking at that is quite a fun way to theme your twins' names about them having matchy. There are some beautiful ones, even quite popular, like Dylan. Dylan means of the sea, and then having Dylan and Pearl, it kind of links them together in a cute way. Rafferty means flood tide, which is also linked with abundance, and I thought that's lovely with Pearl. And then my favourite was Caspian. So it's got the P from Pearl and Caspian. There's the Caspian Sea, and I thought Caspian and Pearl, it adds a real romance to Pearl. There are some gemstones, but Jasper is a gemstone, which is known for healing, and I feel like Pearl and Jasper with the matching P again, but in different places, really bounce together well. Or a really rare name that I love is Kitto, Kito, and it's a boy name that means rare gem. So if you had Pearl and Kitto, it wouldn't be obvious that they're both these rare gems, but it's a really cool way of just as yourself as a family going, you're both our little rare gems. It's really sweet. Let's do a few different ways for her that maybe she hasn't thought of. And it's nice to have the same sounds, like even with Dylan, you've got the L going through, like Pearl and Dylan, you've got that soft L repeating. So it doesn't have to always be with twins that they have these really matching names, but I do think with siblings it's sometimes nice to look at the meaning and go, what else could I do that then links them as a little group?
We've had one in from it's from Helen, sorry, and she said, I found it easy to name our girl but hard to name our boy. Well, I've found that hard as well. My husband is half French, so we'd love a little bit of that in there. Have you got any French sounding names?
The French name that always springs to mind might be a little bit too obvious for her, but I do love Pascal, which is a French gender neutral name. And there are some other really lovely ones. So there's Benoit, Benoit, which brings it in. Matteo is really gorgeous and it travels really well, but it's a sort of a more French version for Matthew. And then there's also things like Fabian, which are very, very French.
That's really cool.
Or Elias, which is lovely. It's worth having a look. And there are some that really work. And it's nice to bring that side in because it will link him to that side of his family as well.
If anybody does have any questions I'd like to ask you or to watch your YouTube videos, would you let everybody know how you can get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you go onto YouTube and put SJ Strum, which is STRUM, there's hundreds of name lists on there where I've done names by themes, names by decades. I'm sure you'll find something that you love. Or Baby Name Envy is the Instagram group, and there's lots of name ideas there. And it's a big community where we can put polls up if you're between two names and help you pick. And it's a really lovely place to go to get support. Don't ask your mum and dad and everyone because everyone's just got too much of investment in it. So if you want to do it more anonymously, you can put it up there.
Oh, that's lovely, SJ. Well, it's been lovely having you on. Thank you so much, SJ.